It's less than 2 months before residents of the city of North Charleston vote for its new mayor. I sit down one-on-one with one of the mayoral candidates, Pastor Thomas Dixon, for the special edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel, like my Facebook page under Quintin's Close-Ups, and download my free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores. Mayor Keith Summers said this recently on his Facebook page, speaking of communities. He said this, quote, "In North Charleston, we celebrate our diversity and understand the importance of fully recounting the past. Through the International African American Museum, we have an opportunity to ensure generations to come fully understand North Charleston and Liberty Hill's significant contributions to the community and the region." What is Liberty Hill's significant contributions to the future African American Museum in your mind?
Well, I don't think Liberty Hill can be overlooked in its contributions to the area, being the oldest community, African American community in South Carolina. I think that given enough just encouragement to the International African American Museum Board, I do believe that Liberty Hill would have been included in there without a $1 million donation. I question the timing of the $1 million donation into the African American Museum on behalf of Liberty Hill in this election year. I question that. It seems, how long have they been planning the museum? It's quite a long time. And before now, why wasn't that $1 million contribution made last year or year before last? Now, right before the election, this the new fish fry. let's use the African American Museum for the fish fry this year. And when the mayor talks about fully embracing history, I think he needs to fully embrace the history of the entire south end of North Charleston that he's allowed to implode upon itself. High crime, high guns, high gang activity, excessive poverty, and 8 failing schools. So if you really want to embrace some history, let's fix that. Okay, give $1 million 2 years ago to the IAAM. Acknowledge Liberty Hill for its contribution to the history, which like I said, I think that they would have done it anyway. But then let's fix the historically blighted communities that his administration has allowed to remain that way.
How much money of that donation to the International African American Museum came from the taxpayers?
Well, it wasn't a private donation, so I would assume that overall that it probably came from, I don't know for sure, but I would assume that it came from the taxpayer monies or whatever, or monies that the city has profited from. Anyway it goes, let me just put it this way.
Okay.
Well, no matter what funds the city of North Charleston government administers, it's all the taxpayer money. It's all the residents' money. No matter how it's dispersed, it's all the residents' money. It's not the city government's money. It's not Mayor Summey's money. It's not the council's money. It's the people of North Charleston's money. So whether it's in a particular fund or a particular place or whatever, it's still the people's money. Just like the mayor and the council are the people's employees.
Let me turn over to the North Charleston Police Department. Mayor Keith Summey also said this on his Facebook page on August 15th. He said this, quote, "Good policing comes down to the relationships we build, not the transaction we produce." And I didn't say policing wrong, right? But what type of relationships have they been able to build? That is, according to this mayor.
Let me lean in a little bit on this one. There are two different points of view. There are different ways of looking at everything. And when I look at the current mayor, when he does his State of the City address, and when I look at his Facebook page or the city government page, everything is coming up roses on those pages. Every time that he has a State of the City address, he has one little blurb about the problems that are going on in the community that people face every day in that community. But he builds up all of these great aspects of the city. When we look at the police department, that statement that he's made right there, I think it's from his perspective, and it's a perspective that's not realistically applicable to the lives of the common citizens that make up nearly 60% of the population of North Charleston. As African Americans and Latino and poor whites also, the police relationships have not been good. Let's not forget, he's been in office 25 years. 25 years. And police relations has not been good. As a matter of fact, right now, I mean, we paid for an audit years ago that was refused from us by the Attorney General, the U.S. Attorney General, but the president is a friend of his that he endorsed in 2016 before the primary. Should have called him up and said, Don, we want our report on the police here. But I guess it wasn't that important, or maybe it might have been too important to do that. Charleston Area Justice Ministry has been pushing for another audit, and for some reason or other, they just don't want to do that. You know, there's something. There might be something there. One thing I can say is, once I'm in office, one of the first things I'm going to do is a forensic audit of over the last 15 years of North Charleston city government, from top to bottom, law enforcement and everything, because I want to find out where the problems exist. But law enforcement in North Charleston has been a problem in the inner city community for a long time, and its reputation precedes itself. And there are very few places where you can actually go and talk about North Charleston policing without somebody saying, man, you live there? You know, whereas African Americans and Latino people have one perception of law enforcement there, which is negative. Somebody like Mayor Summy, who's not plugged into the community that way and lives in this dream world bubble, or he wants to present it that way, he doesn't connect to the fact that every day we have black people and brown people in North Charleston and poor white people in North Charleston that have been traditionally mistreated by law enforcement. Has it gotten better? I think it might be on that road to getting better. I think there are some great people in place right now who can move it there. But I think that one of the problems that we still experience is that the commander-in-chief in North Charleston does not understand the community that he has his law enforcement dispatched into.
What is the quality of life in North Charleston in your mind?
That's a great question, and I can only answer it depending on who I'm referring to. The quality of life for some is wonderful, especially because on social media I kind of interweave my time into places like Park Circle groups and things like that, and they're just some happy folks, you know. But then when I look at some of the groups, or if I'm in the community down on I call it the low end. Okay. These folks are, these folks are surviving. They smile because, they keep from crying, because the day-to-day existence there is nothing more than the best I can do. There's very little opportunity. When we look at households that, don't have an opportunity, or workers who don't have an opportunity to have a bank account because they don't make enough money on their jobs, because the jobs are underpaying people. When we look at mothers who happen to be single parents because of the economic system, has led to incarceration. On the back end of the school of prison pipeline, because they've been undereducated over the years. Mothers who have children that'll sit at home and watch the Disney Channel, and when the kids say, when can we go? And they say, no, that's not part of what we can do. There's no vacation money. the frustrations that I've seen consistently with survivors of homicide, it's ridiculous. So there are two different worlds. There's the world of those who are living good, who many of whom shield themselves from the reality of those that are not living good because they are able to sleep good at night. And then there are those who are doing well. And North Charleston offers them the avenues in order to continue to grow in that area while stagnating others. The problem is the connection between the two, because no matter which way it goes, they're all North Charlestonians. And there's a chance that at any given time, paths can cross. So when you don't invest in those who don't have it so that they can actually have an opportunity to have, then you're actually putting the haves in jeopardy and their family members in jeopardy, because you're creating a dangerous situation by avoiding making it so everyone can prosper.
What avenue would you take when it comes to I-26 and the I-526 projects?
As far as this widening thing?
Yes, sir.
Honestly, there's no data to support that. They say they're widening it because in order to meet traffic needs. There's no data to support that that's effective. That widening a roadway and interstate will lead to less congestion. So this is actually a ploy used in order to further gentrification, as far as I can see, because of course, as always, and this is a template that's been followed around the nation, and I think it began like possibly in Brooklyn or something like that, where these roadways are put and expanded through poor communities, which are predominantly or usually African American communities, and so the homes are taken and things like that through by allowing the educational system to fall, by making sure that there's no economic opportunities, by allowing guns, drugs, and gangs and things like that. So the property's values devaluate until a point where they can actually be taken through eminent domain, but the price at eminent domain that's paid, because there is a price that is paid, but it's at the lowest common denominator. They have to get it down as far as they can before they can take it, so the compensation is a little bit of nothing. But these roadways, this expansion basically is going to open up the door once they take these homes for redevelopment. Right around them. They will build your turnaround if this continues to go through. And within 10, 15 years, those same places where people were forced out of their homes will have $500,000 condos on them. And with no built-in mechanism for the people who are there other than just get out. I know this because this is what happened to where I grew up in Chicago. I grew up in the projects of Chicago. I went back after I came out of prison in 2001. I went back home in 2003, I believe it was, and the last remnants were still there. But there were still quite a few people there. 2 years later, they told everybody there, you got 30 days to get out. I was like, well, where are we going? That's not my problem. We need this back. So they moved everybody out. I went back home 1 year after that, and I didn't even find the street that I grew up on. It was gone. The street was gone. Well, they put the street back when I went back at another time with $500,000 condos on it. Where the people that were there, all of the hundreds of thousands of people that lived in the community that I grew up in, well, they moved to places like Inglewood and Milwaukee and all these other places. And because there was gangs and guns and everything in my community that I grew up in, when they moved to places where there were gangs and guns and drugs already established. So when we see the explosion of gun violence in Chicago, it's because they displaced people from their original habitat and just forced them out. So they went to other places and caused these territorial conflicts. So the city has to take some culpability in all of that. When we look at North Charleston, when we look at Charleston, 75% African American when Joe Riley took office. 40 years later, 75% white. Where did those black folks go that lived on the peninsula? Well, they went to North Charleston. And you wonder why there's been an explosion of crime and gun violence, gangs there. Because those from here went and clashed with those that are there. It's territorial. And if this goes according to the way I believe that the city government right now has plans on going, moving the people out of North Charleston further north and further west, places like Goose Creek, Lincolnville, Somerville, you can stand by.
Orangeburg,
that's right, you can stand by. St. George, you can stand by. Because it's going to get worse. Because the folks here are going to go somewhere.
I asked John Singletary this when I interviewed him for Quintin's Close-Ups many months ago, and I'm pretty sure you watched that interview.
Mm-hmm.
Over the past 25 years, what has North Charleston Mayor Keith Sunny done good?
I consistently have talked about what he's done good. He's built a really great city. And it's sort of easy to do so with the tapestry that he inherited in '94, right after Hurricane Hugo.
Okay.
The city was devastated. So he had a clean tapestry to work with to build from that point. And he's done a great job of it, especially in the light that we had the naval base closing and things of that sort. But I think that his vision and the execution of that vision might have been quite limited, because if in building a great city, if he excluded a certain demographic of the city from that great building, then he didn't achieve what he needed to do in the city. His obligation to the city is to all of the residents. So what has he done? He has built a great city. The entertainment complexes and I'm going to say the business that is brought here, although I have issues with that too, because ultimately we, as the citizens and the residents of North Charleston, we pay the price for the tax breaks that these corporations have been used to bring these corporations here, instead of the corporations coming here simply because this is the best place for them to be. We've actually paid for them to be here. And they, instead of being able to hire locally because the schools have not adequately educated our children to meet the jobs of the future, they bring their people in to work, so that money is actually not going to the native here. It's going to the transplants that come here. And then they use our roads and all of the other amenities that we have here, and they get tax breaks while we have to foot the bill. Let me get back to something good that he's done. But yeah, these are, he's really built it with Volvo and Mercedes-Benz and Boeing and the others, other companies coming here. That's great. But it's also time to understand that as good neighbors, they need to be a part of this community and they need to foot their own weight. But the first step was bringing them here. That was the first step. And I think he was instrumental in doing that, along with his affiliations with the state government through his party in getting these different entities here. I think the challenge as we move forward will be, do these corporations that are making mega bucks within our community, will they be good neighbors and participate in the neighborly process in our community? Will they rebel and say, no, well, we don't want to do that? Or will they say, let's sit to the table and talk about it? I'm hoping that they want to sit to the table and talk about it.
Obviously, there are a lot of candidates in the race for North Charleston mayor.
Mm-hmm.
Why exactly are you running for mayor? And some people are asking, why don't you support the second in command as far as mayor candidates right now?
The second in command? Who would be the second in command? Whomever, is that what you're saying? Whomever it might be?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. All righty. I'm running right now. and I'm going to break it down into the incumbent and the rest. Okay. I'm running right now against the incumbent because the incumbent has had 25 years to do the right thing by everybody in North Charleston. Even in the last 10 years, I know he's been encouraged to do the right thing by myself and others who have brought solutions to the table. But instead, he's consistently fallen on the old mindset that he knows best, and he's got his council to support him. Over the years of trying to talk with this mayor, with his law enforcement division, over these issues, the guns. I mean, I was told, after coming from a community in Chicago, being raised with the original gangs in Chicago, the Blackstone Rangers and the Disciples in Chicago, and being raised around guns and drugs and gangs, when I was talking about to law enforcement and the mayor's office and the council, I was talking from experience. I wasn't just saying I think this and that and the other. I know I'm the only candidate running for office that's been shot at in a non-military situation. They missed. But having gone to the mayor to talk about it, to talk about the poverty situation in North Charleston and the fact that we can actually pay people better, and which will actually strengthen the economy, as opposed to, as long as we have a certain stopgaps put in place. The fight for education, even though the school system is out of the mayor's legislative purview, that's a big bully pulpit. And so instead of going into the school board as Pastor Dixon and giving 2 minutes to talk, and they send me on my way and ignore what I have to say, as mayor, they're not going to be able to do it. So I'm just frustrated. I got frustrated in trying to do the right thing, to get the mayor and this administration to do the right thing by the people of North Charleston, especially when it comes to gun violence. I'm tired of people dying on the streets when we have things that we can do in order to prevent that. This mayor won't even join with other mayors in the nation and mayors against illegal guns. He won't even sign on to that. Well, why not? But that's the mayor aspect of it. Okay, the reason why I'm frustrated, and I decided instead of being frustrated, I'll just take control of the spot. Then the people can see just how good they can have it, and within the next year to two, they'll stop and say, wow, we can really breathe in the city now. People not just dying from gun violence, people getting paid right, our children getting educated. We have accessible housing available. Our homeless are getting taken care of. We're working to fix the flooding issue that's been ignored for a long time. 25 years. Now, with the rest, why not any of the rest? Because where the mayor has been in office 25 years and has not taken care of the entire city, the rest have been in this city, some born in this city, and have not taken care of their own city. I find that problematic. I find that problematic that me, as somebody that a transplant, came here from Chicago, been here since 1985, 86 though. Somebody that came here has outworked every one of the other candidates who are native to here. They should be ashamed of themselves, honestly, that somebody who was not born and raised here would come here and try to end gun violence, make sure our kids are getting educated, and make sure people are getting paid right.
Pastor Thomas Dixon, thank you so much for your time. And again, welcome back to Quintin School Subs.
Oh, it's an honor and a privilege. Every time that I can get with you, Quintin, you know that. Yes, sir. I'm so proud of the work that you do, sir.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
Yeah.